This is the Financial Beat, helping you hit all the right notes in your financial plan. So sit back as we strike up the band. The Financial Beat with Logan Sadler starts now.
Here we go. We're all excited because we have another exciting edition of the Financial Beat for you. Logan Sadler is here. He's the Vice President and Chief Investment Officer at Regari Financial, serving you in Southern California. Hey, glad to have you along today, too. My name is Ron Stutz. Looking forward to a good show. Logan, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Ron. And as you mentioned there, I'm fired up and ready for a great show today.
We got so many good things to talk about today, but first of all, let me put your contact number out there so folks can give you a call. If they bothered to tune into the show today, it's a good chance they may want to call you and have a one-on-one conversation with you. That number to call is 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-7526, but incorporate the word PLAN, 888-823-PLAN. Hey, let's talk about Forrest Gump. Good movie. Tom Hanks starred in it. And I wondered if we could learn some things about financial planning from some memorable Forrest Gump quotes. One thing that Forrest said, and this is probably the most famous quote of all, my mama always said, life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, I mean, it really is, right? I mean, you could talk about financial planning and that where you pretty much never know what the outcomes are going to be with certain things, right? But I guess when you relate that to life too, it's a bigger story, right? Because it is true. You never know what you're going to get, right? Whether you're having children or getting married or taking on a new job or moving to a new town or whatever it is, right? You really kind of never know what the future holds in front of you. So to me, that's probably, like you said, probably one of the most quotable quotes, right, of all time.
Yeah.
One thing I always say is, as we talk about a lot in our planning process and also on the radio show here is, as a financial advisor, our job is to really try to forecast and really put together the best tools and solutions now that we think are going to help best, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, or maybe 10 plus years from now. And, we're going over the planning situations and things like that that are, that prevail themselves there. There's so many different outcomes and things that will change. And one thing I always, love about it is that is the exciting part is, right, things will change. We could look at this next 10, 20, or 30-year journey knowing that it's not going to go exactly like this, right? But here's how it probably would go if things stayed similar, or if there was some changes, here's how things would change. But it was funny, Ron, I was working with a client who came on board about 2 years ago, and we did a very thorough report and a very thorough financial plan where we were going to go out where the client was going to retire in 4 years, right? So again, that was 2 years ago. And so, they come in for their review here just recently, and again, we were planning on probably working 2 more years. Yeah. Well, with that said, right, like I said, planning with quotation, the fingers in the air, right? Their work was actually downsizing, and they were actually offering some buyout packages, right? And so it was something like, he thought, let's bring this to my advisor's attention. So he came in, we kind of go over the situation, and we had some very strict income needs and things that we wanted in retirement. So with him bringing in those numbers, looking at the buyout packages, what his pension would look like if we took it earlier, where his investments, his 401k was at, and things like that, would it make a lot of sense to pull the plug 2 years early, right? How much more would we sacrifice? If at all, what would the situation look like? And so by rerunning the numbers, it was a situation where it was like, you know what? We are able to retire. We could pull the plug 2 years early, and things would still be pretty much right on track with where we want them to be a couple years later. And so, like you said, Ron, you got to be able to adjust and be able to make adjustments to the plan, because we never know exactly how things are going to go. We don't know when the market's going to go up, when the market's going to go down, but we probably know it's going to do one of those things throughout the next few years, right? So just having that as much planned as we can, but knowing that we never really know what to expect 100%.
Wisdom gained from Forrest Gump. That's exactly right. Hey, another thing he said is, Mama always said you've got to put the past behind you before you can move on. I think Mama was right, don't you think?
Mama was right? I think it's one of those things, though, right, where such a good way to look at it, where you look at a lot of different things, whether it's your friendships or personal relationships or things you maybe have done wrong you wish you could redo. I don't know one person I've ever met that says they did everything right their whole life, right? There's always, and if you did, they're probably pumping themselves up a little bit, right? Because we've all done things, whether it's taking different jobs or maybe just doing a different career or different, losing touch with friends or whatever it is, as well as financials, right? I mean, there's a lot of different things where I wish I would have saved more. I wish I would have put more money in the stock, or I wish I would have invested more in the markets, right? We could always look back and say, I wish I would have done this differently, or I wish I could redo things. But like Mama said, right, is that, you got to put the past behind you. And typically the ones that recover and that typically recover the best are the ones that are able to put decisions behind them. I mean, you look at some of those real famous ones like, the Elon Musk or the Jeff Bezos or any of these types of people, the Microsoft, the Facebooks, those companies have had major failures, right, where they've came out and tried things and they did not work, right? But they keep going, right? And they keep making these adjusting and ever-changing decisions to keep pushing forward and put those decisions behind them. And that's exactly what I tell my clients, Ron, when we're going through decisions is, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have done this. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. But if we did this now and kept going and kept moving and putting those decisions behind us, we're probably going to be in a lot better spot, right? And I think that's really the bottom line there of what Mama was trying to say.
We're talking about financial planning on today's show, as always, getting you to and through retirement. And today, using some quotes from Forrest Gump in the famous Tom Hanks movie. Logan Sadler, of course, number 888-823-PLAN. I'll give you that number again coming up in just a few minutes. And another thing that Forrest said, and this makes a lot of sense, really, if you think about it. He said, what's normal anyways? And that's a really good question. What is normal?
Yeah, it's funny, right? I think a lot of us think we're normal, right? But we don't really know, right? We like to think that, but it is true, right? What is normal? And what I relate that to, Ron, is we work with a lot of different retirees. Again, a lot of our clients out there that are coming on board with our firm are typically 55, 60, 65 years old, maybe 70. And they've worked probably 20 or 30 years for a company or maybe a couple different ones. But we work with a lot of people that work at Costco. Yeah. A lot of people that work at, Kaiser, a lot of people that work with Edison, right? Those types of companies where they talk, right? The employees talk, right? So they'll be like, I've had some clients that we have some people at Costco where we've probably got 30 clients from one Costco, right? So they'll refer other people over. Same with Kaiser and some of these other places. And it's always, well, you know what? I didn't do probably as good as my friend did, right? Or I didn't do as good as so-and-so did. But one thing I always look at is they think that they're in bad shape, right? And so it's funny because that friend or that family member or whoever referred you over or whoever you're comparing yourself to, they might have a totally different situation than what you have, right? They maybe they have $1.5 million and you have 700,000, right? And you think you're broke, right? And you think you're not going to be able to retire. But the chances are, if you really look at your overall plan and what you need, you might be in a better shape than you might have thought of, right? I could think of 2 clients off the top of my head, Ron, where we were going through a financial process and they kept saying, well, my friend has $200,000 or $300,000 more than what I have. So I probably won't be in nearly as good a shape as the other friend. Well, it was funny because when you looked at it, actually, the one that had less money had no mortgage, right? So, okay, the other one that had more money had a mortgage. So automatically you're looking at a monthly cost there, right? As well as the lifestyle of the one that had the more money has gotten used to spending more money, right? So he wanted an income goal of like $130,000 a year. The one with less money, he only needed $80,000 a year, right, to do the traveling and do the things he wanted to do in retirement. So it was funny when you actually put the numbers into the system and put them on the plan and actually put that that painting to work there. It was really amazing because he was actually way ahead of where he thought he was. And that's one of the things that I always enjoy most about doing retirement planning is really being able to put those puzzle pieces together and paint that picture and see where we're really at and what we really need and how we're going to get there.
And one more thing here, I wanted to mention this because I think this is a really good quote. He said, Mama always said dying was a part of life. I sure wish it wasn't.
In our industry, in my profession, we deal a lot with people passing away, right? Unfortunately, we deal a lot with people in retirement planning, and that does mean you're getting closer and closer to sometimes the end of your life, right? Sometimes it might be 20 years, sometimes it might be 30 years down the road, or sometimes unexpected things happen, and it's a lot sooner than we expect. And I think that is and you probably could agree, Ron, anybody that knows somebody that's been through something like that, is it's one of those times where there's just so much going on, and it's really, really hard, as we call it, to kind of stiff through the noise and see what you're really supposed to do, right? It's hard to see clear. And that's where I think having a solid advisor and a team behind you to help really orchestrate the plan. Yes, showing, okay, you know what? Your income's still going to be the same. You're not going to run out of money. We have contingencies in play, and we're still solid, right? That's one component of it, is looking at the financial aspect and also the emotional, right? I think that's the other thing where when you look at losing a spouse, that's why I talk about, having life insurance or making sure you understand your plan, is because when you do lose a spouse, one of the last things that you probably want to think about is money, right? You want to be able to deal with the passing of that spouse or that friend or whoever it was and be able to focus on the emotional aspect, because it's something where we've all been through it and it hits very, very hard for a lot of us, and it's hard to put that stuff behind you and move forward, but somehow we figure it out and we do move forward. And it's one of those things where you just got to make sure you have a solid team behind you to make sure you're able to guide through the financial end and the financial aspect of it. But it's one of those big blows that I agree with Forrest there, right? I sure wish that wasn't part of life.
Yeah, the key is, you got to have a plan in place so you don't have to make those tough decisions during a very emotional, heartbroken time. That's for sure. Logan Sadler can help you accomplish that. Logan, I know a lot of folks may want to give you a call to your office and set up a time to have a conversation. How's that going to work?
Yeah, absolutely. So how it works is you actually just give the number that Ron gives you here in a minute. You just give that number a call, and you're able to leave a voicemail. And basically, you just kind of tell us your name and a little bit of information about you. And somebody from our office will reach out to you first thing Monday morning. And basically, what we do is we schedule our discovery meeting. And just like we talk about all the time on the show, is it's not a sales pitch or it's not this high pressured meeting. Really, what it is you're going to bring in all your information. You're going to bring in your how much you have in your accounts, how much longer do you want to work, right? Some ideas and things like that. Social Security statements, your tax returns, stuff like that, where we could actually kind of go over where do you currently stand, financially, where are you at? And then also, most importantly, a lot of the meeting is spent on where do you want to be, right? And for some of us, it might be in the next year, next 5 years, next 10 years. Where do you want your retirement plan to be? And also allowing our firm to show you some of the value and insight that we think we bring to your overall financial situation, and helping you put together a full comprehensive plan that's built to last, but also built to get you to and through retirement. So if you've saved well, if you have over $250,000 saved for retirement and you're getting closer to retirement, or maybe just started and you're looking for a team to help put together those puzzle pieces to transition you and get you to and through retirement, I definitely think you'll gain some value by attending the discovery meeting.
888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN. That is your number to call if you'd like to arrange one. Call that number today, leave your name and number. You'll get a call back first part of the week, and then you can have your own conversation with Logan Sadler, same person you hear on the radio show. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call to make it happen. That is a number for Regary Financial. Logan is the Vice President, Chief Investment Officer, serving you from two convenient offices, one in Hemet and one in Redlands. I'm Ron Stutz, along with Logan Sadler. We'll have more coming up in just a moment on the Financial Beat.
Are you worried about whether you're ready for retirement? Logan Sadler and the team at Regary Financial can help. Just text the word ADVICE to 21,000 to take Regary Financial's free Retirement Roadmap Checkup. Text the word ADVICE to 21,000 and we'll send you a link to all of our free resources. From there, you can click on the button for the Retirement Roadmap Checkup. You'll just have to answer a few questions, and then you can see how prepared you are for retirement. This is a great starting point for people just starting to think about retirement. Text the word ADVICE to 21,000 to get your free Retirement Roadmap Checkup today. That's the word ADVICE to 21000.
Logan Sadler is the Vice President and Chief Investment Officer at Regary Financial, and he has his own YouTube channel. Search for The Financial Beat on YouTube, and you can find over 100 videos from Logan about different retirement planning topics. For example, Logan has a video called 3 Key Ages for Social Security. It's a 5-minute video where Logan will break down the key ages that impact your Social Security benefits. Check out that video and over 100 more on the Financial Beat YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for The Financial Beat.
What is your name?
I'm Arthur, King of the Britons.
What is your quest?
To get retirement ready.
What is the PE ratio on your portfolio's top grossing products?
I don't know that.
Don't get blown to bits by complex jargon. Let Logan help you over the bridge to a meaningful retirement.
We're back now with more of the Financial Beat. Logan Sadler is on the radio. Go tell everybody you know. because I'm sure he's going to say some very important things between now and the end of the show. My name is Ryan Stutz. It's always a pleasure to hang out with Logan Sadler. And let me talk just a moment about the folks at Regary Financial. Just an outstanding team there of folks who are committed to helping you make your life better. Logan Sadler gets a big kick out of being able to assist folks through life and get them to and through retirement in a very successful way, and to let them achieve a little peace of mind. And everybody on the team is like that. They have great partnerships with local CPAs, attorneys, real estate agents, mortgage lenders, Medicare specialists, everybody involved with your financial life. And at Regary Financial, they can offer well-rounded guidance in all things financial for clients. Regary's been around for a long time, and Logan Sadler certainly enjoys working with different generations of folks. If you'd like to have a discovery meeting, you can call 888-823-PLAN. That is 888-823-PLAN, and arrange it. Leave your name and your phone number, and they will get back with you at Regary at the beginning of the week. And then you can arrange the time to have a no-cost, no-obligation conversation. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call. Logan, you know, I pride myself in having a decent sense of humor, and I know you do too. And I like to laugh about things. If I had to be serious all the time, I would just do away with me right now. I wouldn't want to be hanging around if I couldn't laugh about things. But George Bernard Shaw once said, "You don't stop laughing when you grow old. You grow old when you stop laughing." That's pretty.
I like
pretty
that
amazing.
one. I don't actually think I've heard that one before, but I actually really like that, because I think it's kind of like the body that stays in motion, right? That they typically, or the body in motion stays in motion. I like that one because that's similar to this one, but this was with the mind, right? And I think that's physical is great, right? Staying physically in shape is awesome, but also staying mentally in shape is just as awesome, right? So I love that.
Yeah, and Tom Petty once said, to bring this up to more contemporary standards, Tom Petty once said, "I don't know, but I've been told you never slow down, never grow old."
Yeah, gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Got to keep moving. Hey, let's talk about the three worlds of money. When you really boil it down, basically only three places where you can invest money to simplify the whole thing a great deal. Let's talk about the role that each of these worlds play in a good financial plan. And what about the banking world? Talk about that and the best uses of this world, the pros and cons, and how do people sometimes use it wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at the banking world, right, what is that? That is typically cash, that's CDs, and that's money markets, right? So typically the banking world are those three asset classes that you would use. And primarily what those are used for is no one puts money in a CD saying that they're going to get rich, right? Nobody puts money into a money market because they want to make the best return, right? What those are typically used for, and what you're seeing more and more of it again right now with rates being higher, but typically what I always tell a client, when a CD or a money market makes a lot of sense is if you say, "Hey Logan, 1 year from now, I have $100,000, and 1 year from now, I want all of that money out because I'm buying a house next year with it," right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you don't want any risk. It's a 1 year time frame, and you're looking for a little bit of a return on your money. It's not going to double or do anything crazy, right? And you want something safe and low risk and protected. So guess what? A CD is perfect for that, right? A CD, you could put it in there, make 3, 4, 5%, and depending on the rates, and typically you'll get all your money back at the end of that year with the interest, right? After that 1 year time frame. Or if you do a 6 month, same thing, right? So those are great for that type of investment. The same with the money markets, right? Some of them pay a little bit lower of a rate of return, but they might be more liquid. So if you don't know if you want a year or 6 months or 3 months, then a money market might make more sense, right? Those are typically where you'll see the banking world kind of have a good spot in the portfolio. And again, this is very important for some clients. If you do have cash that you're looking to get out next year or in a few months or whatever it is, and you're not looking to take any risk with it, and you're okay with a lower rate of return, then typically the CD or the banking world is one of the best places to be. Where you don't want to be, though, Ron, is you don't want to put, and I see it a lot right now with them, typically if markets are all over the place and rates are good, you see a lot of people shifting large portions of their money or their portfolio over to the banking side of the world. The banking side of the world is not traditionally meant to average a great rate of return over a period of time. right? Typically, they're good for short-term investments. And one thing you want to look at is not putting too much money in cash or in CDs, because as rates go down, you might be caught in a spot where now you're stuck in money markets or whatever that are paying less than 1% again, like they were a few years ago, right? So it's important to have balance and to understand what the use is of that world. And that would be the banking world kind of summarized, Ron.
Okay. Let's simplify this segment of our conversation as well and talk about the insurance world. Do all those things with the insurance world that you just did with the banking world. What are the best uses? What are the pros and cons? And how do some people sometimes misuse it?
Yeah, absolutely. The insurance world is actually, all of these are pretty broad, right? But this one's even more broad. I would say there's a lot of complex and different types of strategies in there. But I would say the high level ones that a lot of people have heard of and that could probably have the most uses in a plan is you have annuities, right? So those are fixed annuities where they pay you a guaranteed rate of return for that term. So it's basically like a CD, but typically they pay a little bit better of interest. So you're looking at, like, if you bought a 3-year fixed annuity, that's going to be a guaranteed rate of return for 3 years, right? Or if you bought a 5-year, same thing. Then you have fixed index annuities, which are basically, they provide you some upside to the market. Probably not all of the upside of the market, but the nice part is they don't provide you any of the downside of the market, right? So those could be a good safe spot to put money, the fixed index annuities. And really the most common form of those is what we use them for most of the time is income. So a lot of those are providing cash flow for your retirement. Some of them have a really great starting where they pay a really high rate of income right off the bat. Some of them start out a little bit lower, but they might increase, right? So they have increasing income or increasing cash flow for the rest of your life. So those can be very valuable into a retirement plan. Then you have, long-term care insurance and also IULs, which is Index Universal Life. Those could be used more for tax efficiency. So those could be great where you have a life insurance component to it, but it might also be able to provide some tax-free withdrawals or tax-free loans from that account. So those could be great for tax efficiency and things like that. And as you can see here, there's a lot of different components of the insurance world. But typically where I would say, Ron, the insurance world fits into the plan is if you're looking for some sort of guarantees or safety, right, is typically where you would go with those types of investments. And then if you're looking for tax efficiency, the Index Universal Life or the IULs would probably be more categorized for a tax efficient investment. So there's a lot of different components in the insurance world that could be very important and crucial to a plan, because I think we could all agree by having some of those guarantees with your investments in there could probably increase the overall success of the plan. Now, with that said, right, there's pros and cons to everything. Where I would say that the insurance world doesn't fit in is typically they're not extremely liquid, right? So if you want to put $100,000 in this year and take $100,000 out next year, it's probably not the best place for it, right? Most of the insurance products I had mentioned in there are typically longer term, maybe 3, 5, or maybe even 10-year investments that are meant to provide those guarantees, but over a period of time. And so you want to make sure you understand all the ins and outs. And just like everything else, Ron, diversification is key. So I'm not a huge fan of having all of your money in insurance products, right? Just like most of us might not want all of our money in banking or all of our money in the Wall Street world, you probably don't want all your money in the insurance world either. So it's important to understand how each of those tools can fit into your plan.
Okay, you mentioned the Wall Street world. Let's talk about that. That is really the third world of money. Tell us about the best uses of that world and the pros and cons and why some people get into trouble by not using it right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think of the Wall Street world, I think a lot of us might know this world well or not at all, right? And basically how that works is you got stocks, you got bonds, you got mutual funds, you got exchange-traded funds, you got structured notes, a lot of these other REITs or different types of investments inside those that are basically issued as a security. So basically, this is the world that typically doesn't have a whole lot of guarantees, right? Depending on the investments, it might not have any guarantees. This is the one that typically is the most volatile, right? They'll typically go up and down the most depending on what you're invested in. The nice part is a lot of these are a lot more liquid, right? So they typically are able to be touched or sold in a period of time and you can access the money. The best part about this world, though, traditionally speaking, though, Ron, is they typically have the highest rate of return over a period of time, right? If you're looking on a 10-year or 20-year average, it's the banking world and the life insurance world probably aren't going to produce the rate of return that the Wall Street world would typically return. Okay, again, depending on what you're invested in and what time segment we're talking, but typically that is going to be the highest rate of return, but is probably going to have the most volatility, right? So it's important to understand your risk tolerance, and I would think that would be the thing, Ron, is most people don't really understand what their risk tolerance is or even what they're invested in, right? So it's important to understand how the Wall Street world can play a role because, again, a lot of us probably like the idea of having money in stocks or bonds or mutual funds and probably know the value of it. But how much should we have in there, right? If we have $1 million, should we have all $1 million in there? Or should we maybe have 800,000 in there or 400,000? Or just depending on your situation, you want to really make sure you're spending the time or working with a professional that can help guide you through what exactly you should be situated in to meet that outcome. And, that's basically kind of those three worlds summarized there for you, Ron.
Okay, I appreciate your simplifying things. Of course, it's a lot more complicated than what we could talk about in those last 5 or 6 minutes, but appreciate your breaking it down for us. There are folks out there who've been listening to the show for a long time, maybe checking out your YouTube videos, maybe listening to the show as it happens on the weekend, and maybe listening to podcasts, but just haven't gotten around to making that phone call to your office, and may want to know exactly what happens when you arrange a discovery meeting. So could you tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically how it works, again, you call the number Ron's going to give you here in just a sec. You leave a voicemail, and someone from our office is going to reach out to you first thing Monday morning, and then we schedule a time for us to get together. It might be in person or it might be via Zoom, depending on what your preferences are. And then we actually go over our discovery process. And our discovery process is probably not like one you maybe you went through before, where really we spend a lot of time on understanding what your goals are, right? What are your financial goals? What are your personal goals? What's your relationship with money? What type of risk tolerance? And we really hammer that down to kind of understand how risky do you want to be with your retirement? What is your ideal situation throughout your retirement plan? And then we spend a lot of time educating on like we talked about, the three worlds, right? You got banking, you got insurance, you got Wall Street. You also have real estate and other asset classes like that can factor in too. And making sure you understand your overall situation and are being able to understand and put together all those puzzle pieces about Medicare, about Social Security, tax planning, all the investment stuff, right? All those confusing topics, and being able to really articulate that and simplify it to clients and show them the value of using some of these different types of tools and situations to your retirement plan, and by showing the value of working with somebody like us to help get you to and through retirement, and show you again how it might be one of the best calls you ever made by coming in and sitting down for that discovery meeting and allowing us to show you the value that we could bring to get you to and through retirement.
Make that call right now. 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN. That number is for Regary Financial. 2 convenient offices, one in Redlands, one in Hemet. Wherever you are in Southern California, call the number today. Leave a message with your name and phone number. You'll get a call back first part of the week, and then you can have your conversation with Logan Sadler. What's the cost for this? There's no cost and no obligation. No strings attached at all. Just have a conversation, get to know him a little bit. He can get to know you, and then you can decide if you'd like to move on from there. Just that simple. Same guy you hear on this show every single week, Logan Sadler, 888-823-PLAN. I'm Ron Stutz, along with Logan Sadler, and we'll have more coming up on the Financial Beat. The beat will go on after this timeout.
Do you ever find yourself skipping through countless songs trying to find the perfect one? Yeah, we've been there too, and know it can be frustrating. Much like skipping through the countless advertisements from other financial advisors, it can seem like there's so much misinformation. But here on the Financial Beat, you can rest assured we're providing you with the best information possible. So don't push skip on this show, because we have some important information coming up.
We're back now with more of the Financial Beat. Logan Sadler is here on the show. As always, my name is Ron Stutz. Logan Sadler has not only the radio show, but there are podcasts. If you missed some shows, you can go back and catch old ones. And also a YouTube channel with all kinds of helpful videos on there. And Logan, you got anything recently that you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. As a lot of you guys know, is we upload weekly to YouTube. So we have a video we just did last week, which is called the 3 reasons that you might want to consider to take Social Security at 62. The 4 questions you should be asking yourself before retiring, right? So we upload each of those each week to YouTube, and we do a new concept, a new title every week. And basically, they're between 3 to 5 minutes long for you guys to go out there check out. Head over to YouTube, type in The Financial Beat. It'll take you right there to our channel. And again, we upload weekly there. So head over, click subscribe, and follow along, and let us know some other videos you might be interested in us doing on the channel as well.
Very informative videos, by the way, and you do a really good job on those. They're kind of entertaining. I don't get bored when I watch those.
Well, that's the goal. I'm always trying to spread some education, but keep people awake, right? That's always the goal.
Keep people from falling asleep.
Exactly.
Hey, if you want to call Logan and arrange to have a conversation with him, you can do that. It's called a discovery meeting, kind of a getting to know you session. 888-823-PLAN, 888-823-PLAN. That is your number to call. You can get a discovery meeting, no cost and no obligation. We'll have more of that coming up later on. Let's talk about the hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is something that we all heard about, maybe learned about in school. It breaks down human needs into 5 different tiers. So let's examine how you help people address each of these various tiers in their retirement planning. First of all, there are physical needs. How do you help people cope with those needs?
Yeah, I think really when you look at those types of needs, you're looking at the importance of pretty much of regular income, right, to provide for those basic needs throughout retirement, right? I think we could all include, food, water, warmth, and rest. I bet those are basically things that you need throughout retirement, right? Yeah. Those aren't like the vacation to Hawaii twice a year or things that are fun like that, right? Those are the necessities. And one thing I would say is the biggest thing you want to look at is typically providing those or be able to fulfill those with pretty much a guaranteed type of income situation, right?
Yep.
And there's a famous book out there by Tom Hegna called Paychecks and Playchecks, and it's a great book for those of you that haven't read it. But essentially, the thought is for a lot of people is, you got $1 million saved for retirement or $2 million or $200,000, depending on your situation. And you look at your overall financial goals, right? And you look at guaranteed income. There's really only 3 spots, I would say, Ron, where you can get those. And not that I would say, but there's only 3 spots, right? So you look at Social Security, right? That's a guaranteed paycheck every month that comes in. Sometimes it's $2,000 a month, $1,500 a month. Sometimes it's $3,500 a month, depending on what your income was and when you took it. And that's a guarantee, right? So if you needed $5,000 a month to fit those, food, water, warmth, your mortgage, stuff like that, that would be able to come in and fulfill some of it. The other types of guarantees would be a pension or it would be an annuity, right? Some annuities have guaranteed incomes on them. So those are really the 3 areas that you could draw from to help get those guarantees. Now, the thought behind that is, Ron, is because and you've heard me talk about this a lot, but essentially when you look at, in the market, stocks, dividend stocks, mutual funds, bonds, all those can be great and can provide some income. But the problem is they might go up or down, right? Sometimes dividends get cut. Sometimes dividends get raised. Sometimes, stocks go up or down. So one of the best ways to get some guaranteed income in there is typically one of those 3 sources, right? And that's what I'll say. If a client's trying to get, $5,000 a month, to cover food and expenses and basically, major living expenses, I would say is you typically want to have a good portion of that at least coming from a guaranteed source. And then we could use the rest of the income we need to get, from stocks, bonds, mutual funds, all those other things that, again, those are great asset classes and could be really valuable in a retirement. The problem is they probably don't provide you the guarantees you'll probably need to meet those types of goals.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about tier 2 in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that would be safety needs. We all want to be safe and we all want to be secure in our lives. Tell us about how you deal with this need with your clients.
You look at the safety needs, there's a few different areas where you could look at safety, right? Sometimes that's for income. And again, for income, some of the best things to use out there for safety and guarantees would be some types of annuities and things like that, where they could provide, you put X amount of money into an annuity and they provide you X amount of money on a guaranteed basis for income. Those could be really, really great and efficient ways to do that, as well as there's some on there that are really great at inflation protection as well. Some of them have an income that increases throughout the course of the time frame, which can be awesome. But also safety, right? When you look at that, Ron, That could be CDs. That could be CDs. That could be money markets. That could be a lot of other things that can be safe, right, and not have a volatility. And there's also other annuities out there that are just meant for growing safe, right? Maybe they have a 0% floor, meaning you can't lose any money due to the market. And again, CDs, money markets, and other things fit in well into those categories, especially given current rates right now. Mm-hmm. But I would say some of the biggest things you want to look at in what type of security is you want to make sure you have enough assets, you want to make sure you have goals, and you want to make sure you're comfortable, right? Those are the three things when you're looking at safety you want to look at and will determine how much you probably should put in safe versus risk. Because a lot of people ask, well, Logan, I like the idea of annuities, or I like the idea of CDs, but I also like the market too, right? Which I agree with. The market's typically a good spot to be for some people, but determining where you should put money and how much risk you should have, it's super important to understand what type of assets, how much assets you have, what your goals are, meaning what's your income and your needs each month, and also how comfortable do you want to be with that, right? How much of it do you want guaranteed? How much risk are you okay with? What happens if the market goes up, which we all love? What happens when it goes down, which none of us really like, right? Yeah. So how do we protect ourselves against those, not for this year, not for next year, but over the next 10, 20, or maybe 30 years of your retirement plan?
You're listening to Logan Sadler on the Financial Beat. I'm Ron Stutz. Number to call if you'd like to get in touch with Logan, 888-823-7526. That is 888-823-PLAN. We're talking about the hierarchy of needs, and I think all of us have at least heard of that. We studied it in school. There's another one. Tier 3 of the hierarchy of needs is the needs for belonging. I think we want to have people close to us. This would include intimate relationships, friends, and a sense of belonging, a sense of community, in other words. And I think people, want all those things in retirement as well.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, it almost goes without saying, right? But I think it doesn't for some aspect, because some people think money is going to be the thing that's going to make them feel the belonging, right? And feel that sense of fulfillment. But the problem is, a lot of the times money is great, right? And money is awesome to have a successful financial retirement. But also, I think, like you were saying, Ron, is we all, as humans, we need some human interaction or some type of fulfillment. And the problem is, in retirement, a lot of us don't understand. A lot of us might not like our coworkers, right? But the funny part is you actually, whether you think so or not, you actually do get something from having that type of interaction throughout the day, right? Maybe you have a lot of people you really like at your work, and kind of the pros outweigh the cons, right? Meaning you like more of them than you dislike some of them. So that type of stuff's important. The other thing is having something to do every day and a purpose to wake up and get out of bed. Now, I know as well as anybody, it's super easy to push snooze and go back to sleep, right? And to sleep in and want to be lazy on certain days. Yep. But believe it or not, a lot of us actually like having something to do. We have so many clients where they stay busy. They play golf, they play pickleball, they're into knitting, or they're into social clubs, or they volunteer. And they have something to get up and do throughout the days that keeps them going, keeps them motivated, but also they're not doing it 10 hours a day like their other job, right? They're doing it 2 or 3 hours a day, maybe twice a week or whatever it is, whatever their schedule permits. But just having something where you feel like you want to get up in the day and you feel like you're making a difference, or you feel like you're able to enjoy your time.
Yeah, it goes back to what we have said so many times. It's important to retire to something and not just from something.
Absolutely.
We all need a purpose and a reason to get up and do something. Esteem needs, and this includes prestige and the feeling of accomplishment. Everybody likes to think that they're spending their time productively and that they're getting some things done. And I know you have a lot of folks that you deal with all the time who are retired, and they need to have that to feel good.
Oh, it's true, right? I mean, like I said, I work with a lot of nurses that have been working. They've been a nurse for 20 or 30 years. Some of them were in management, like I said, Costco or Edison, or supervisors or doctors, or whatever the case is, right? You were very important, and believe it or not, a lot of us that are very motivated in life, we like to have a sense of direction. But also, it feels good to cross off a box, right? And say, I did that, right? It's nice to have goals. It's nice to have things to look forward to. And, it's nice to feel like when you achieved a goal or when you finished something, you accomplished it, that feeling of success and that fulfillment that you get inside of it, whether you know it or not, is really important to the overall well-being.
And
of your mental health, right?
That's probably always going to be that way, no matter how long you live. You need
it is,
feel
right?
good about what you've been able to get done. The last thing I wanted to mention here is Tier 5 of this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization. And this includes achieving one's full potential, including creative activities. And, you know, we all have a need for that, or we at least should.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ron. I think the biggest thing is a lot of people come to me and say, okay, Logan, what should I do with my retirement plan? I have $1 million or I have $500,000 or whatever the amount is, right? What should I do? And I always tell people there's many different forms of a retirement plan, right? Many layers to unpack inside of it. Obviously, we have the financials end, which is going over how much money you have, what type of income you want. And then there's more of the tactical end, right? With, okay, how are we going to invest? Where is the money going to be? And then also there's the, I would call it more of the long-term goals like tax planning, estate planning, those types of things that are very important. Are we being tax sensitive inside of the accounts? In the retirement plan, is the income going to be met, and all those fun things, right? And then you got the healthcare and the estate planning side that are very important. One of the other things that people tend to miss is, what am I going to do in retirement, right? What do I want to do? And how am I going to wake up every day and to have that sense of direction and that sense of fulfillment? And what is that going to look like? And believe it or not, we actually spend time on that with our clients, going over, like, one of my first questions is, what is your hobbies, right? It's funny because people don't think that makes an impact, but we could have all the money in the world and the best income plan, but if you sit at home every day and are bored, it's probably not the best retirement plan, or not what you envisioned at least, right? So definitely, I think those are really great hierarchies of needs that are going to be inside the retirement plan to unpack. And that's something, again, a good financial advisor should be able to go over all the tactical stuff. Like we always talk about, if you don't have the 5 pillars of retirement plans, of your retirement plan put together, those of you out there that say you have a retirement plan, or you work with an advisor, or maybe you've done it yourself, and you're saying, you know what, I think I'm okay. I think I have a good investment plan or whatnot, right? But if you don't have the 5 pillars, right? So if you don't have a solid and written income plan, if you don't have an investment plan that you understand and know your risk tolerance and what the pros and cons are of your current allocations inside the investment plan, if you don't know your tax plan, is there different tax strategies I could be doing now to help me later? Or is there certain things I could be doing year by year that could increase my tax situation? Healthcare, right? Long-term care and things like that, planning throughout your retirement, and your estate plan. If you don't have those 5 things done, we call those the 5 pillars of retirement. I think those 5 crucial points are about as important in a retirement plan, and then also adding in the emotional and goals of what your retirement is going to look like. I definitely think you could take away some value by coming to our discovery meeting and just seeing what our firm has to offer, right? That's what we always say. When you come in, you sit down. Really, we have a 3-meeting process before we ever bring a client on. So you're not signing any paperwork or doing any type of commitment at that first meeting. It's really just a great time to get to know each other and allow us to tell you a little bit more about our process, and allow me to understand a little bit more about what it is you're trying to do, and just to see if we're a good fit to help get you guys to and through retirement.
888-823-PLAN, 888-823-7526, the number to call to get yourself a discovery meeting on the calendar. You can have a conversation with Logan Sadler. It's not going to cost you a penny. There are no strings attached at all. We talk about that all the time on this show. A discovery meeting is just an opportunity for you to get to know him a little bit. He can get to know you. You can get some basic answers to some questions that may have been concerning you. He can find out what's important to you and what you want to accomplish with a financial plan. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call. If you've been listening to the show for a while, isn't it about time you made that phone call? It's not going to cost you anything. No obligation. You're listening to The Financial Beat, and the beat will go on in just a moment with Logan Sadler. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm a cleverly devised personification of Wall Street. I'm one wild roller coaster ride away from wreaking havoc on your investments, and I love to mess with your emotions. If you're not properly diversified, you can bet I'll keep you up all night thinking about me. If you want to keep me off your mind, you really need a trusted advisor who'll look after your best interests. You also need a custom-designed financial plan that'll protect you from market volatility. Otherwise, when I take a plunge, I'll send you scrambling through your filing cabinet, hoping you were well prepared. Don't wait for turmoil to hit.
In Southern California, call Logan Sadler and the Regary Financial Team at 888-823-PLAN. That's 888-823-7526.
Are you tired of feeling like taxes are draining your bank account? Do you want to keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket? Then download Logan Sadler's 2023 Guide to Tax Planning. This guide is your key to tax optimization and is filled with expert advice, the latest tax laws, and strategies for reducing your tax burden. With the help of Regary Financial and Insurance, you can rest assured that you're making the most of your retirement savings. Just text the word ADVICE to the number 21000 and get the guide for free. Just text ADVICE to 21000.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of a plan that has some serious issues. Much better. That's the sound of a plan that was created by someone listening to the Financial Beat with Logan Sadler. So which sound is your financial plan making?
Hey, we're back now with more of the Financial Beat. Logan Sadler is on the radio. Hey, go tell everybody you know. Logan, we got some questions coming up from some of our listeners in just a moment, but I wanted to put your phone number out there again for folks who might have just joined us and might want to call your office right away. It is 888-823-PLAN. That's 888-823-7526. And if you want to find out more about Logan Sadler, continue to listen to the show, certainly. Check out his YouTube videos, but you can also go to financialbeatradio.com, financialbeatradio.com, and maybe you might even want to download an 8x10 color photo of Logan Sadler suitable for framing. You put it on your wall to inspire you every day. So I'm just kidding about that, but it's very important to make that phone call, 888-823-PLAN. And Logan would love to get to know you. He meets new folks every week who call in from the show and would love to add you to the family. And if you don't want to carry it any further than that, hey, that's cool too. 888-823-PLAN. Good questions have come in this week from, first of all, Mia in Marina Valley. And Mia says, somebody told me that I'd be better off to retire at 63 because then I'll have a lower income for a couple of years. So when I start Medicare, it will be cheaper. Is that true, Logan?
Yeah, great question, Mia. Basically, so yeah, there is some advantages to having lower income qualifications down the road. But here's the thing, right? That all sounds great to retire at 63, but can you retire at 63, right? I always tell people it's nice to have a lower income for certain, like if you're in California, for like covered California and health insurance and all that stuff. But the problem is if you can't get by off that lower income, it doesn't really mean a whole lot, right? So if you say, I could lower my income to $40,000 a year and I wouldn't have to pay for X, Y, and Z or it'd qualify me for this. But if you need like $70,000 a year to pay your bills and stuff like that, it doesn't mean a whole lot, right? So I think it's super important, Mia, to come in. Let's go over your full situation and see what you actually need, because I don't think a lot of people understand the risk of retiring early, right? A lot of people don't account for that. Also is less money paid into Social Security, less money paid into pensions, less money maybe accumulated or added to your 401k, right? Maybe less interest earned on your 401k or IRAs. So you really want to take a look at that overall situation and see what the actual impact of retiring early is with everything, right? I always say it's like an earthquake, right? When things send shock waves around, right? Retirement is one big shock wave. So if you do something here, it might affect this other component, right? So you want to make sure, and again, that's the whole point of retirement planning, is to look very broad scope and understanding the pros and cons of the overall situation to make sure we're not hurting one thing just to help the other.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for the question, Mia. And follow it up with a phone call, 888-823-PLAN. Next question here is from Chip in Yucaipa. Chip says, I have 4 different investment accounts, my 401k at work, an IRA, a Roth IRA, and something that's just labeled as individual account. Which one should I withdraw from first when I retire in a few months and need income?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the question, Chip. And that's actually a really great question. And you actually labeled a lot of different account types. So I want to kind of back up there because a lot of people, I always talk about, you heard diversification all the time, Ron, right? We talk about, stocks or bonds or annuities and diversification. Yep. Diversification is great. But a lot of people don't talk about tax diversification, right? So the problem is most of us accumulate most of our wealth in a 401k, which is great. But the problem is when we retire, it's all taxable. So there's not much diversification there, right, as far as taxes go. It just means everything we take out is taxable, right? So the nice part is we have a 401k and an IRA, which are taxed the same, right, as ordinary income. Then you have a Roth IRA, which is tax-free. And then you have your individual account, which is basically typically taxed as capital gains or capital loss, whether that's short-term or long-term, depends on the positions. But each of those can be taxed a little bit differently, and some of them may be tax-free completely. So when you look at your overall situation there, Chip, you have a great option to look very broad scope at where you want your taxes to be overall. And you have a lot of great tax diversification that's super important. One thing I would look at, Chip, is, again, definitely give us a call because a lot of our clients are in the same situation where they have multiple different accounts. They know kind of what income they need, but how do I draw the income out? Do I want to start selling stocks or mutual funds, or do I want to realize capital gains or take from the Roth? And a lot of it might be a real mixture of all of that, right? And so give us a call because we can really go through which string to pull first or which levers to pull first to really make sure that we're orchestrating this correctly, because it sounds like you have a great start to a retirement plan, but now we just got to figure out how much is in each of them, what type of income goal we're looking at, and then where do we want our overall tax picture to fall.
Okay. Chip, thank you very much for the question. A lot to take in there. Call Logan's office and arrange a time to have a conversation with him. One more question today, Logan. It's from Bradley in Lake Elsinore. Bradley says, none of the men in my family live very long. My dad, both grandfathers, and all of my uncles died in their 60s. I'm 55 now and considering retirement right now so that I can enjoy some golden years, since I probably won't live very long either. How does it change the planning for somebody like me who is not worried about longevity?
Yeah. That's a very great question there, Bradley, and thanks for writing in. Again, we appreciate each of the three questions we had today because they were all great. The one thing I would look at is, unfortunately, I see this a lot, right, where sometimes longevity is not on your side. The problem with longevity is we don't know, right? It's always like it's playing a game of straws or whatever you want to call it, right, where it's just basically a roll of the dice where we don't know. I mean, you could be the one person in your family that lives till 90, right? Or history can continue to repeat itself, and you could pass away earlier. The one thing I always say is some people that aren't concerned with longevity or it doesn't bother them, it doesn't mean that it's not a thing, or it doesn't mean it's not a real concern for a plan, right? Because the problem is, I always say, yeah, we could take out whatever you want from your retirement accounts till X amount of age, and then you're probably out of money. And the problem is then you probably be very concerned about longevity as you run out of money, right? When you're younger, it's hard to see the impact that longevity has. But if you're married and you're leaving behind maybe your spouse in a tougher situation, you probably do care about that, right? So I think it's super important to, again, look at your overall situation. I'm not saying that you can't retire because I haven't seen the numbers yet, but it's very important to look at the overall financial plan and making sure we're orchestrating things that are well thought out and understand the pros and cons of those decisions now. Because the problem is, once you retire young, if we start drawing money, start pulling out of accounts and doing all the other things, if we significantly reduce the account values and the income plan, and then we live longer, we're in a lot of trouble, right? So I think it's super important to really focus on where if you did retire now, what would it look like, and what would the impact be at 60 or 65 or 70 to you or your spouse or whatever the situation is, and making sure you fully understand, as much as we can comprehensively now before we pull the plug.
Yeah, it sounds like that might be some kind of hereditary situation with Bradley's, the men in Bradley's family.
Yeah.
So, a lot of it depends on that, I suppose.
It does. And it's important, like you said, Ron, to look at all the attributes of it. And that's part of what we do during our discovery meeting and with all of our clients is look at the big picture.
I'm going to give out that number in just a second here, but why is it so important for folks to call you now and arrange to have a discovery meeting?
Yeah, as we know, there's so many people right now that are approaching retirement or getting close to retirement that have, they've gathered assets, they have accounts, they have 401ks, they have IRAs, maybe a pension, and they have all these different puzzle pieces, right? And the problem is A lot of people might have an investment person that tells them to buy a stock or a bond, which is important, right? That does help a financial plan. But a lot of people that we meet with that come into our office typically don't have a full comprehensive plan, right? They don't know what their tax picture is going to look like now. They don't know if there's anything that they could do to their taxes currently that would improve their situation maybe next year, the following year, 10 years from now. They don't have an estate plan, right? They haven't looked at what happens if something happened to them. What type of situation are they leaving behind for their wife or their spouse or their kids? And what can we do differently now for that, right? As well as we always talk about how important the income plan is. Some people are very, very good at gathering assets, making money, right? Building their accounts. But when it comes to taking income, it's a whole new ballgame of how do I draw income out? How do I know how long it's going to last? How do I look at, where I should be taking, what investments I should be selling, and really making sure you have that detailed written income plan that you know exactly where your income is going to come from, not only today, but 10 or 15 years from now throughout your retirement. So again, a lot of people out there are getting close to retirement. They've gathered assets and they're looking for somebody to help guide them through their retirement. And again, that's exactly what we do at the Discovery Meeting, is just see if we are a good fit to work together, tell you a little bit more about our firm, about our process and our beliefs with retirement planning, and also hear a whole lot more about you and your family and see if we're a good fit to work together to get you to and through retirement.
So many things to talk about, so many things to think about. Call Logan Sadler's office right now. Don't put it off. 888-823-PLAN. 888-823-7526. That will be good for a discovery meeting. Once you leave your name and your phone number, you're not obligating yourself to do anything at all. It's not going to cost you a cent. 888-823-PLAN is your number to call. Regary Financial offices in Hemet and Redlands. Wherever you are in Southern California today, we really appreciate your listening to the show. But call that number. I'm going to give it to you one more time. 888-823-PLAN. I'm Ron Stutz along with Logan Sadler. Logan, it's been fun.
Yeah, Ron, appreciate your time. Appreciate all the listeners staying tuned and tuning in each week. And again, if this is maybe your first time stopping by, thank you for doing that also. Hopefully you check out some of our other content, and we will see you back here again next week with the Financial Beat.
Regary Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. and BD Financial Group, Inc. are separate and independent entities. The information provided in this presentation is presented for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, tax, or legal advice, nor does it constitute an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any securities.